Melissa Chavez here. I'm really happy and excited to be joining all of you at Wake Magazine. And usually when I sit down to make a video, I don't really plan too much ahead of time about what I'm going to say. I really like just to open it up to guidance of spirit and see what kind of comes through me at a very inspirational level. And what that allows is usually for me just to talk about what I'm going through at that moment in my life. And right now there's a little thing that I'm processing, and I've just noticed, especially within this past week or so, that I've been allowing myself to be distracted by television and the games on the phone, which is not something that I'm usually and have been allowing myself to engage in. In the past, 6 months, I've really been engaged in my spiritual journey. I've really found dedication, but lately I've been finding it difficult to get myself motivated to meditate. And I just think that's really interesting. And I'm really opening myself up to see what the reason and the lesson is behind this kind of change of resonance or kind of change of frequency. So I'm going to kind of do that process with you all today and kind of see if it can help any of you. And if you're going through something that you're just kind of like, this isn't proper spirituality, or this isn't helping me in my awakening. Let's kind of examine it and really question it and really see if it's here for a reason and if it really is propelling you on your spiritual journey. So like for me, I've been catching myself at night, instead of going to meditate after my son goes to sleep, which kind of had become my custom, I'm turning on the TV. And I'm watching like The Late Show, and I'm fiddling around on my phone. And so, what is that about, right? Let's look at that. And so I'm opening myself up to guidance. I'm really asking if there's a lesson here for me to learn, if there's something that I can really gain from this seemingly change in behavior. Now, we all know that our behavior is actually only a reflection of our thinking. So where we need to go to look for answers is within the mind. You can't really change the behavior. Like if I'm sitting there watching TV and I'm all of a sudden feeling guilty, and that's why I'm going to go change my behavior, that's not really a source of true healing or getting to the bottom of the behavior. What we really need to do is examine, what am I thinking and what's going on in my belief system that might be causing the awareness or causing the appearance of my behavior. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm asking, what is the belief system behind my need to maybe turn on the television? And the answer that I'm intuitively getting right away is fear. There's a fear and a resistance to awakening. And I know that seems kind of silly. Why would we be resistant to the all-encompassing joy and love of awakening to the truth of our spiritual being and our connection with our Creator? And what's coming to me is that we've built up a lot of fear against this process, and that's why not everyone is engaged in it all of the time, is that there's a lot of unconscious fear towards the path of awakening. And that's perfectly okay. We don't have to feel guilty about that, but we do have to recognize it, and we do have to look upon it. The whole reason this fear has been kept unconscious in our thought system is that we are unwilling to look at it. And so it can be really helpful to let that come to the light and really start looking at our beliefs and our thoughts and examining why we are afraid. And so that's a question we can ask, like, if fear is the answer to the first question I asked, which is, what is the thoughts behind me wanting to turn on the television instead of maybe meditating or engaging in more conscious contemplation, if you will, prayer. And that's my next question is, what am I afraid of? And the answer I'm getting for me is that I'm afraid of not being distracted. I know that also might seem a little bit absurd, but I'm afraid of not having something to do. I'm afraid of not being able to engage in some of those activities like just relaxing and watching TV. I'm afraid that I'll be bored. Isn't that absurd? I'm bored because I'm afraid of being bored. Oh man. I can really see now that me turning on the television at night is really a mechanism within me that is saying, give yourself something to occupy your attention. So really what I'm looking for is for something to occupy my attention, and instead of maybe giving that attention to the television, where it would be more useful would definitely be to give that attention to me and into my thought system like I'm doing right now. So I'm getting the recommendation that the next time that I feel like I just want to sit there and plop down and watch TV and not think or do anything, to really do what I'm doing right now, really try and process and question what beliefs and what my thoughts are that are leading me to this conclusion that I should just plop down and watch television. And something I have been doing the past couple of nights, which has probably helped lead me to this point where I can at least question it, is that I've really tried to be conscious of the fact that I was doing it. I really tried to be aware. And even while I was sitting there watching television, I really tried to take moments where I became aware, really located my I am presence, really became conscious that I exist, that I am. And ultimately, the I am that exists in the moment of watching television is the exact same I am that exists when I am meditating or doing something else. So to think that maybe one activity is less spiritual than another activity might be kind of misleading or kind of not completely correct, because ultimately we can use anything that we're doing or anything that we're going through to help propel us on our spiritual journey if we're willing to use that activity with the purpose of advancing our spiritual journey. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what you're doing. What really matters is the purpose with which you're doing it. The purpose with which you're doing anything is what really matters. And if you're using anything and everything you're doing, going to the dentist, going to see family members, speaking with a neighbor, whatever, if you're using that and you go into that with the purpose of awakening to your spiritual truth, then it'll be used for that purpose because you've set that intention beforehand or during it. So I really think that it's important to realize that who you are in truth does not change regardless of anything that you're doing. Who you are is perfect, right? And complete. And ultimately, what maybe being conscious of your spiritual journey is really ultimately helping to clarify for you what your higher self already knows, right? So we're already perfect. And spiritual journey is really about clarifying from our human perspective what our spiritual self already knows from its much greater all-encompassing perspective. And the I am presence that is aware of what you're doing right now is the same exact I am presence that knows your spirit self and all of your spiritual truths. So when you connect with your I am presence, when you really sit and you recognize that you exist, you are aware of the fact that you're conscious, then you're really going to that place that is unchangeable and unalterable in you. So if you feel like you're in a place of chaos, going to that I am presence can be really helpful in calming you down and in opening you up to more clear and more broad perspectives of the situation that you're in. So I really encourage you to, no matter what you're doing, become conscious of the fact that you exist, that your existence is unalterable and unchangeable, and really allow yourself to become comfortable and at peace with exactly what you're doing. And maybe then examine the thoughts behind why you're actually doing that. Because if we can then change the thoughts of what is causing the behavior, eventually our behavior will change also. So, thanks for watching. This has been Melissa Chavez for Awake Magazine. See you next time.